Why did emperors throughout history favor treacherous officials, shun loyal ministers, and sometimes even seek their destruction? Did sitting on the throne somehow cause them to lose their minds? Absolutely not. Never underestimate the intelligence of an emperor. Today, you will take a seat on this throne and experience the art of rulership, the techniques history books dare not fully describe. You are Emperor Alexios, ruler of the vast Aetolian Empire. You didn't inherit this throne easily. You fought tooth and nail, outmaneuvering rivals and siblings alike to claim the crown. You dedicated your youth to mastering strategy and surviving the endless plotting within the palace walls. Your singular ambition, to be remembered not just as an emperor, but as Alexios, the great, a name whispered with reverence for 1,000 years. To achieve this, you need absolute, undeniable authority. For now, however, ambition is tempered by a crushing reality. You are young, and your grip on the state machinery is tenuous. You rely heavily on the powerful officials left over from your father's long reign, the so-called Old Guard. At first, their decades of experience were a comfort. They guided you through the complex taxes, the management of distant provinces, and the rigid processes of statecraft. But soon, a bitter taste began to form in your mouth. You realized these old ministers, led by the formidable Grand Chancellor Marius, spoke with more authority in the council than you did. In the council, when you propose a vital new trade route to the western coast, a plan essential for replenishing the royal treasury, Marius merely frowns and suggests the timing is unwise. The motion instantly dies, not by vote, but by his sheer, inertial weight. When you suggest reforming the corrupt local guilds that leech off the common people, he laughs it off, dismissing it as idealistic, youthful fervor, and reminds you of your father's policies. His influence is immense. His word carries more weight than your decree. This deep-seated frustration boils over into your private life. You want to appoint a promising young scholar, Lord Kellen, to your personal advisory councilor, man, loyal only to you. Marius is immediately up in arms, publicly questioning Kellen's humble lineage and insufficient experience. You want to marry Lady Lyra, a captivating woman of your choice, purely out of affection and desire. Marius and the Old Guard loudly protest, citing her unsuitable family ties to a minor regional lord, claiming she would destabilize the nobility. Then, they have the audacious nerve to propose one of their own relatives, a dull, politically connected woman from a powerful house, as your empress. You despise the very thought, but you glance around the council. Fully half of the major appointments were made by Marius. You are forced to swallow your disgust, smile, nod, and proclaim, "Your counsel is wise, Chancellor. The state must come first. It shall be done." You feel like a gilded prisoner, a mere puppet emperor. If this powerful faction decides to walk out in unified protest, your fledgling reign would collapse into chaos within weeks. You cannot risk it. You must internalize the humiliation and wait for the precise moment to strike. But waiting is not inaction. You secretly cultivate a small, tightly controlled network of trusted, hungry young officials. You assign them a single, critical, and dangerous task. Investigate Grand Chancellor Marius. Find the definitive chinks in the Old Guard's armor that can be exploited, without risking open war. The reports that begin to filter back are startling. Publicly, Marius is the model of an honorable, self-sacrificing servant, but privately, he boasts across the capital that he is the true foundation of Aethelia, and that you are merely an inexperienced boy, lucky to have his guidance. Worse, the scale of the bribery is rampant. Marius accepts massive gifts to secure powerful official posts for his cronies and relatives. His influence among the lower officials is now almost familial. They view him as a second father, loyal to Marius before they are loyal to the crown. You spend sleepless nights reading these dossiers, a cold, calculating fury building in your gut. You want to execute him immediately, but you know a direct confrontation is precisely what he expects, and it will only ignite civil war. You decide on a subtle, insidious approach, a strategy that will use his own arrogance and greed against him. You must elevate him to such an impossible height of power that his eventual, unavoidable fall will be final and undeniable. You must begin the art of killing with praise. You have chosen your poison. You will smother Grand Chancellor Marius with unchecked power and public adoration, making him so arrogant and complacent that he forgets the very laws he has sworn to uphold. This is the calculated strategy of killing with praise. First, you need a new weapon. You secretly elevate a young, volatile, but effective newcomer named Lord Elias. Elias harbors a fierce, almost fanatical hatred for Marius's systemic corruption and the Old Guard's stagnation. He is the ideal loyal minister you need right now, blade sharp enough to execute your will, but still easily sheathed by your command. You task him with collecting the necessary evidence against Marius, offering him unparalleled access to state secrets under the guise of national security. Simultaneously, you begin elevating Marius to dizzying heights. When reports of his minor bribes begin to reach your desk, detailed accounts of officials paying him thousands of gold solari for promotions, you do not merely dismiss them. You publicly laud the Grand Chancellor's tireless service to the realm. proclaiming loudly to the council that such small tokens of appreciation are merely the cost of dealing with a national hero. "We cannot trouble such a great man with the petty squabbles of the treasury," you announce, silencing the accusers. When his family is caught illegally seizing vast stretches of productive farmland from poor, displaced farmers, you quietly suppress the legal case. You call Marius to your private study, not to punish, but to comfort him. Dismissing the complainants as petty commoners unworthy of his attention, you look him straight in the eye, your smile unwavering, and say, "Do not trouble your great mind with such trivialities, Chancellor. Your contribution to Athelia is too important to be derailed by these nuisances." Then you deliver the final, most intoxicating dose of power. You begin seeking his advice on every single major administrative appointment. "Chancellor," you inquire during a tense private meeting, "the highest position of First Minister is vacant. Who, in your esteemed, unparalleled judgment, is the single most worthy candidate for this sacred charge?" You have essentially ceded the keys to the empire's internal personnel management. Marius is completely intoxicated by this new freedom. He genuinely believes that you, the young emperor, are nothing more than a pliable figurehead, a naive boy easily manipulated. His manner around you deteriorates rapidly. He drops the courtly, "your humble servant" self-reference and starts declaring, "The old man believes," or "my view is what matters." He acts as if you are a minor prince, not the son of heaven. You endure this charade for nearly 3 years. One day, he argues with you over a minor border troop deployment so fiercely that his face turns a deep purple, and he hammers his fist on the table, nearly spitting on your robe. Inside, your stomach churns with murderous fury. You want to summon the palace guard and have him executed on the spot, but on the surface, you force your face into a mask of patient serenity, nodding slowly, as if deeply impressed by his passion. You want him to forget all pretense of respect. You want him to become drunk on his own self-importance. The more complacent and arrogant Marius becomes, the faster your loyal dog Elias delivers the detailed, irrefutable evidence of his treasonously velo corruption. Finally, the moment arrives. Elias rushes to you late one night. "Your Majesty, the evidence is overwhelming. The old guard's defenses are down. The time is ripe." You summon Marius to the palace under the false pretense of an urgent, late-night strategic meeting regarding the western frontier. As he strides confidently into your inner sanctum, fully believing he holds the true power, your hidden personal guardsmen who answer only to a subdue and arrest him instantly. The next morning, at the Imperial Council, you allow Lord Elias to dramatically unroll a scroll listing Marius's dozens of high crimes that warrant immediate execution under Aethelian law. You ensure that the entire court witnesses this spectacle. You are aware of every transgression. Every official is now accountable directly to you, but you do not kill him. You merely commute his sentence to life imprisonment in the darkest tower. Why? To maintain the image of a benevolent and merciful ruler who shows restraint, even when betrayed. The power of the throne is finally, truly, and undeniably yours. The dust has settled. Your throne is secure. The court is outwardly harmonious, having witnessed the spectacular, yet merciful, fall of Grand Chancellor Marius. For the first time since your ascension, you taste true imperial power. But this period of comfort is short. A new source of discomfort arises, subtle yet chillingly familiar. The entire bureaucracy, the same swarm of officials who once clustered around Marius, now descends upon Lord Elias, your former loyal tool. Like flies to honey, they seek his favor, offer him gifts, and treat him with the fawning deference they once reserved for the disgraced old guard. Elias now holds the power to make or break careers, and the ambitious know exactly where to direct their loyalty. Worse still, Elias himself learned the brutal lesson of Marius better than anyone. He is now far more politically astute, cautious, and patient than the arrogant old chancellor ever was. Where Marius openly wished to be the emperor, Elias makes a theatrical show of humility, constantly referring to himself as less than dust before your throne, yet his power permeates every corner of the administration. You, slowly, painfully, realize this is the cynical rule of the court. Imperial power is a magnet. Whomever the emperor raises up, their word becomes gold, and others naturally flock to their patronage. A chilling question surfaces in your mind, a knot in your stomach. Will Elias, your own hand-picked man, simply mature into the next Marius? The cycle threatens to repeat endlessly. Must you now turn around and destroy the very man you cultivated and relied upon? Killing one favorite only leads to another rising in his place, creating a perpetual purge. When will it end? And if you constantly execute your most capable and powerful servants, who will dare to work effectively for your empire, the bureaucracy would seize up entirely. You begin observing Elias with the cold, detached eye of a master redditor, studying his every move. You note that while he certainly builds factions, placing his own men in key positions across the treasury and the judiciary, he understands the critical boundaries you established. When it comes to the great affairs of state, managing the supply lines, enforcing the emperor's edicts, he performs with ruthless efficiency. Yes, he is still corrupt, but he takes his gifts, with a certain measure of calculated restraint, never so brazenly as to invite widespread public scandal or challenge your personal wealth. Very well, you decide. Settling back on your throne with a sigh of weary calculation, the perfect, incorruptible servant is a myth. You choose to turn a blind eye to the minor transgressions of Elias's administration. He is a functional tool. Instead of removing him, you choose to control him. You secretly maintain a detailed, comprehensive record or hidden ledger of every single mistake, every minor misjudgment, every documented gift he accepts, and every instance of favoritism shown to his faction. You know these faults, these small, constant weaknesses, will be your perfect leverage. You tolerate this new status quo for several uneasy years. You keep your favorite, most effective knife sharp, but firmly sheathed in your own secure grasp. You let Elias take the risks, make the enemies, and perform the necessary, dirty administrative work while you retain the image of the remote. Just sovereign. The time for direct action will come when Elias attempts to move beyond his role as administrator and threatens the military balance of the realm. Several years pass under the administrative control of Lord Elias. While the empire is stable, the stability is soon threatened by external forces. War breaks out with the hostile Scythian coalition on the distant borderlands. You send your finest military mind, the highly decorated and fearsome commander, General Kellis, to lead the legions. Kellis fights brutally and effectively for 5 long years. The national treasury is nearly bled dry, supporting the war effort. But finally, Kellis returns victorious. Crowned in glory and hailed as the shield of Athelia, you reward him lavishly. You promote him to field marshal, grant him vast estates, and allow him the highest honors. However, the scent of victory is an intoxicating and dangerous drug. Great merit often breeds even greater arrogance. General Kellis, backed by his legions and public adoration, begins to show alarming disrespect for your authority. He arrives consistently late to the Imperial Council. He openly dismisses high-ranking civilian officials appointed by Eli, by extension, by you as pencil-pushing fools. Worse, he begins systematically purging his regiments of any non-loyal officers, replacing them with his own distant relatives, former subordinates, and personal cronies. He is effectively creating a private army within the state's military structure, answering only to him. You issue several veiled warnings, delivered through your most trusted messengers, but he ignores them all, treating your communications as mere bureaucratic noise. This is the danger you learn to fear above all others. Merit overshadowing the monarch, Kellis no longer treats you as the emperor. He sees himself as the indispensable, God-chosen savior of the realm. He holds the military power, the ultimate means of coercion. If he decides to march his legions on the capital one morning, who among your civilian bureaucracy can stop him? You realize you must eliminate this threat to safeguard your legacy and clear the path for your future heir. This is where your functional tool, Lord Elias, steps forward. You subtly signal to Elias that Kellis has become too large for his own good. Elias understands immediately. He knows that the removal of a military hero will solidify his own, purely administrative power. One early morning in the council, Elias presents a scathing, beautifully crafted memorial. He fiercely denounces General Kellis for his overweening arrogance, his contempt for the civilian government, and his blatant treasonous ambition for rebellion. Elias then deliberately picks a fight, finding a minor point of contention in Kellis's recent military appointments and needling the general relentlessly, questioning his honor and loyalty, driven to a furious, irrational rage by the perceived attack from a court civilian. General Kellis loses complete control. He bellows a challenge, charging across the council floor, and physically assaults Elias right there. In the presence of the emperor, the perfect opportunity has been delivered into your hands. You instantly seize the moment. Maintaining a cool, judicial composure, you order Kellis arrested for the ultimate crime, assaulting a high minister in the emperor's presence, and have him thrown into the deepest military dungeon, stripping him of all command immediately. Some officials attempt to speak up, arguing that Kellis's contributions were too great and he should not die. Elias instantly leaps to your defense, his voice echoing through the chamber. Is his merit greater than the emperor's divine authority? Contempt for the Son of Heaven is a capital crime. He must perish for the stability of the realm. You have successfully removed a major military threat, and the administrative status of Lord Elias is now uncontested in the court. However, Elias is now thoroughly and undeniably known as the great treacherous minister in the eyes of the public. He betrayed the loyal general who saved the empire. The people curse his name in the streets. The whispers of his corruption and evil deeds grow so loud that you can no longer pretend not to hear them. He has become your perfect shield against public hatred. One afternoon, years later, you summon Lord Elias for a private audience. He is now the most powerful civilian in the empire, and the most universally hated. You look him straight in the eye, your gaze cold and unchanging, and ask, Elias, do you truly understand that if I wished you dead, you would already be dead? Elias immediately collapses to his knees, kowtowing deeply until his forehead touches the cool marble floor. Your Majesty, he says, his voice strained but steady, you need only speak the word, and your servant will gladly breathe his last. But, Emperor, he continues, his voice rising with a practiced sincerity, these heavy burdens, the assassination of a popular general, the ruthless enforcement of difficult taxes, the suppression of powerful, disloyal nobles, am I not handling these matters for you? I accept the endless curses of the people so that your reputation, the Emperor's reputation, remains pristine. I die gladly, but consider this. Can you find another man who is as clever, as effective, and most importantly, as easily controlled as your humble servant? His words strike a painful truth directly into your heart. Killing him would be the simplest thing in the world, just a single word from your lips. But you look past the man on the floor, and weigh his utility. Where would you find another schemer so ruthlessly competent, so willing to absorb all the public hatred like a sponge, and yet so fundamentally and completely obedient to your will? The next man to rise, and someone always rises, might be less effective, far less devoted, and infinitely more difficult to manage. Very well, you concede, letting out a deep weary sigh of calculation. You toss him a small bag of gold, a generous reward mingled with a subtle warning. You allow him to leave, ensuring he understands that for now, his life and his essential usefulness is secured by your sole judgment. The final years of your reign flow by in this manner. Every day in the council, you constantly weigh the scales. Who is truly effective? Who is merely a good actor? Who should be used? Who needs a subtle check? And who requires immediate elimination? This delicate amoral balance is the burden of the crown, the sacred duty of your existence. Looking back, you are now an old man, your face a roadmap of cold decisions. You watch your own sons savagely plot against each other, their desperation for the crown mirroring your own ruthless struggle decades ago. The cruelty is identical. You finally choose the one who possesses the most cunning, intellect, and the most vicious methods, the one who resembles you the most to be your crown prince. You call him to your side in your inner chamber, and, with the final wisdom of a lifetime on the throne, you teach him the ultimate lesson. Son, you say, your voice rough and heavy with ancient power, the only thing you must ever concern yourself with is this. Who is useful to this throne? Who can you successfully control? Who can perform the necessary, bloody deeds for the empire? The matter of killing or sparing them, of using them or discarding them, and how exactly to manage them, you must contemplate these matters alone. Beside this throne, there are no truly loyal ministers, and no truly treacherous ministers. There are only knives that fit your hand, and whether or not you have the strength and the cunning to maintain your absolute grip on them.